Welcome to the Be Magnetic podcast, where we ignite deep abundance and step into soul-led success without losing joy, freedom, or peace. This is for the woman who is bored, disconnected, and exhausted trying to win a game she doesn't want to play anymore. If your soul is calling for more flow, more ease, more magic, but you're not sure how to get there, get ready to become magnetic and create a life that is as juicy and abundant as you've always dreamed it could be. Hi and welcome back to the podcast. Today we're talking about what being productive truly means in the context of wealth creation. This episode is for the girlies who struggle with constant need for being productive, hypermasculinity, and leading from a place of no matter what I do, it's never enough. Today we're going to redefine what productive means, especially when it comes to creating financial freedom and creating financial wealth, because I do feel like that a lot of the conditioning around the need of being productive and the need of being go, do is really coming from this place of, we need money because otherwise we can't survive in today's society. And while yes, it is true, money equals freedom in some sort. Obviously, freedom is way more complex than just money, but money is an important part of our society, of the world that we live in and how it functions. But I don't believe that we need to be constantly on the go and constantly in our masculine and constantly productive in order to be aligned with the wealth that gives us the freedom and the space that we're desiring. I actually believe that we can be deeply in our feminine, we can be deeply taking care of ourselves and deeply in flow versus productive. And that will only add to the wealth that we are creating in our lives and for the generations to come. So this episode was also inspired by a conversation I had lately with a past client of mine. She's been working with me for I believe like 1.5 years or so, a while ago, and we're still in touch. We chat every now and then, and we were talking about the big shifts that she undergone, because when we were working together, one of her biggest themes was that she was constantly unsatisfied with how productive she was. So her biggest theme that she worked on during the time when we worked together was that she wanted to be more productive. She always thought she didn't get enough done and she was too slow. And at the time already, it kind of like, I did get where she was coming from. And obviously we did do some reframing around this, and she made the progress she wanted to make, and she got a little bit more productive and strategic and all the things. But even then, I did empower her to move away from this thought of I need to be more productive or I'm not doing enough, because at the end of the day, that does not serve us. And so a couple weeks ago, we again chat about this, because obviously I am going through a phase at the moment where I am considered to external standards not really productive. I mean, I do a lot of things every day, a lot of managing, a lot of stuff, but it's not necessarily productive in the classical sense, right? And so I'm going through my own process with this. But we had this conversation, and she shared basically how she's very motivated and very inspired right now to do things. And I do feel or do believe that when we are in phases like that, where we are actually really inspired, where we are actually really lit up and have the energy to do a lot of things, of course, let's use that. Let's, make the most out of it, and we can be so hyper productive in times like that. But then there is a 100% chance that there's gonna be a phase where you feel not inspired, where you feel not motivated, and where you don't feel energized to do shit. And we need to honor that phase equally. And what I see happen a lot, which is the reason why I'm recording this episode today, is that oftentimes in times like that, people push through. They force themselves to still be productive, to still show up, to still do the stuff that's on their list, because it is not seen as good to lean back, to rest, to not be productive, right? They don't give themselves permission to not be productive because they're afraid that if they fall off track, if they're not productive anymore, then they're not gonna make money or they're gonna fall back or whatever. And I am of the belief that as much as we should be using those times where we feel lit up, inspired, motivated, energized to get shit done, we should also honor the phases where we feel the need for rest, where we don't feel inspired, don't feel energized, and we should allow ourselves to take a step back. And in order to do that, we need to reframe what being productive means. So being productive does not equal wealth. And again, this is a belief that so many people have tried to reframe already, that the more you do doesn't mean you make more money, right? The wealth that you attract is totally independent from how much input you do. There's so much more important stuff that contribute to how much money you make, which is, for example, the quality of the stuff that you do. You could be busy all day long and not make any money from it. But if you do an hour or two a day, the right stuff, you could make so much money, way more than if you were busy all day long doing stuff that doesn't matter, right? So the quality of what you do matters way more than the quantity of what you do. We need to acknowledge the fact that this belief, the more you do, the more you make, does come from people who are not built, not wired as we are. So I'm saying we, I'm referring to women, of course. I know that 99% of people listening to the podcast, you guys are my girls, you're women. So we are not wired the way men are, right? And so this belief that the more you do, the more you make comes from guys. It stems out of this masculine society that we lived in for so long, but we women are actually not designed to do all the time. We have powers and qualities that are untapped, that have equal enough potency to create wealth than the masculine, like doing and working and like getting stuff done, right? I'm not saying that the more you do, the more you make is false. There is some truth to it, but only if it's done by the right people. So I do believe that men, if they do work hard, if they put their masculine energy forward, they can make through that trail a lot of money. But for women, this belief is simply not true because we are wired differently. So for us, being productive actually means different things, like, you know, doing the right stuff, or even like productive also means to like have space to be creative, because for women, being creative means being productive, right? For us, productive is just like defined slightly different. So we can also reframe this belief by saying the more creative we are, the more money we make, or the more rest we get, the more money we make, because those ways are way more aligned with our energy than being like the classic sense of being productive, right? So the traditional definition of being productive does not only equal wealth. There's so many more things that equal wealth. It's also the way, like the strategy that you put to your wealth creation that equals how much wealth you actually create, right? You can, again, do all the time, and if your financial strategy sucks, then you're not going to be wealthy. You're just going to be burnt out, right? So being productive does not equal wealth. True wealth is money not spent, and that kind of tailors a little bit towards the financial strategy, right? So yes, to some extent, there needs to be an input in order for there to be an output. Again, the input can look different. It can look like being creative. It can look like being social. It can look like resting sometimes as well. And it can look like doing stuff, right? Getting shit done, working. But at the end of the day, true wealth is money not spent. It's energy not spent, right? Because let's look at this through different scenarios. So first of all, if you work really hard and then you make a lot of money, but then you spend all the money, so you spend all the energy, you've spent all your physical energy in terms of working, and then you spend all your monetary energy by buying stuff, then you will still poor, right? If you, let's say, work really hard and don't spend as much, you still are energetically poor because you have no time, you have no energy left to enjoy the money that you're making. So you're financially wealthy, but time-wise and energy-wise, you're poor. And then if you, let's say, make sure that you're not working to burn out, basically, so you have still time and energy left, and you have monetary energy left because you don't spend all your money, then that is true wealth, right? So when it comes to building wealth while also allowing yourself to flow, it really comes down to being mindful of how much and where you spend your money, and ensure that you're not spending all your money, but that you're keeping some of the money, while at the same time redefining what we already talked about with I don't have to be productive in order to make more money. Wealth, I've already teasered it, is not just money. It is also time, it is also health, it's also energy, it is creativity. Wealth is like a beautiful home, whatever wealth means to you, but wealth means more than money, right? So of course we want to make sure that the money comes in, but we also want to make sure that we have those other things in overflow, in an abundance of time, and an abundance of energy, and an abundance of love, and an abundance of beautiful things around us. And I don't necessarily mean physical things, but a home that makes you feel good, a town that makes you feel good, and stuff in your home that makes you feel good. And I often find also that less stuff makes you feel better than more stuff, because again, that's just overspending and unintentionally directing your money if you just accumulate more stuff and more stuff and more stuff in order to fill that void. And a luxury car and a big home or whatever, they're not necessarily significant indicating wealth. They're just indicating that you're rich, and rich and wealth is not the same thing. You can be living in a cottage somewhere in a forest and not even have a car and be more wealthy than a person living in a villa with 2 Porsches and a Ferrari. Okay? So just some food for thought here. So what productive means when it comes to holistic wealth creation is to do enough so that you make enough. So first of all, we want to obviously define, what does enough look like to me? So how much money do I actually need in order to live a comfortable life, right? In order to be able to pay my bills, in order to be able to do the things that I want to do. And again, really asking yourself, is the luxury stuff something that you actually want and need, that your soul is craving, or is it just because society kind of shows you that that is the standard to which we should be living if we have a certain amount of money, right? Because again, that is also just feeding into the cycle of having to be productive without creating wealth from it, right? So, what does enough look like to you in terms of income, in terms of wealth, in terms of money? But also, what does enough look like in terms of doing things? What is a schedule, a to-do list that actually looks like enough? Not more than enough, not overextended, but like enough. Like, how much would you be doing in a day that makes you feel full? Not overextended, but like comfortably full, like content, like you've done enough, like you've done something and you feel good. Like, what does that look like for you? And then I want to leave you off by saying that rest is also productive. Kind of like what I said before. Rest is a very feminine energy. And just as much as doing things is a very masculine energy, and it does lead men to be really wealthy, rest has the potential to lead women to be really wealthy because it's aligned with our nature, right? And so the more we lean into that, the more we give ourselves permission to lead from a place of authenticity. And I'm not saying like rest all the time. Of course, we need a balance between the feminine and the masculine, but I know that 95% of you guys are too much in their masculine, and you are afraid of not being productive enough, although you probably work your asses off and you deserve some rest. That being said, it does not pay you forward to burn yourself out. So please stop it. Please redefine what productive means to you and what enough really looks like for you in terms of how you spend your time, and also in terms of the money that you're wanting to call into your life. And if you want to have some guidance in terms of to build a financial strategy that can hold both the rest and the desire to be in your feminine energy, while also the desire to create more wealth for yourself and for your family, I have two incredible offers for you. One is a free money challenge where we dive into what still makes you feel scarce and unsafe around money, and do some of the both like practical and energetic work around helping you feel safe with what you make, and really defining that enough feeling on a nervous system level. And then the second one is cash flow, which is a one-off session where we expand on that and we outline a financial strategy that helps you to get to this enough point without burning yourself out on the way there. So both things are linked in the show notes. And if you want to keep binging, keep listening to episodes, there is a couple of incredible episodes linked in the show notes as well that you can dive into to learn more about this whole thing. We've got 4 lessons on building financial abundance, for example, and also how I structure my weeks and months for maximum productivity. Again, productivity in a more feminine sense. And then also the most expensive belief you'll ever hold. So some more mindset shift there for you. So lots of good things in the show notes. Make sure to check them out. And then I will see you in the next episode. Lots of love. Bye.